All roads in this multi-country conflict lead back to Gaza. Last night in the north of Gaza City, paramedics raced through the remnants to the fresh hell of another Israeli strike.
جايبين أكل وخبز كاينين في المخبز واقفين على الدور لهم نص ساعة ومروحين على دورهم يطعموا أولادهم.
They arrive at the scene. Eight people have been killed. Families are fleeing in the opposite direction. One woman has just lost several nephews, blames Hamas for this. Another woman lost her son, blames Israel. The bodies brought to Al-Ahli hospital for identification. Misery illuminated by mobile phone. He addresses the crowd, asks, "Why did my brother have to die? Am I dreaming?" He is not. The Israeli army has ordered people to evacuate the north of Gaza City as it renews its stated aim to root out Hamas. And with new videos released just yesterday, Hamas's military wing wants the world to still see it as a viable fighting force operating in these neighborhoods. Hamas is a shadow of its former self militarily. But if part of the point of the October the 7th atrocities was to draw in allies in other countries, Hamas have succeeded. Last night, Benjamin Netanyahu spoke to Joe Biden about his retaliatory attack plan after a barrage of Iranian missiles were launched at Israel 2 weeks ago. According to US officials, Netanyahu told the US president that the targets of the upcoming attack will be military ones in Iran, not oil or nuclear facilities. A commitment designed to allay fears of an all-out war between Israel and Iran. No accident that today the US confirmed that the troops and components of a sophisticated American anti-ballistic missile system have all now arrived in Israel to bolster defences against Iran's response. Calibrated retaliation is the buzzword. But back where it all began, in Gaza, this is what calibrated sounds like.
From Gaza to Lebanon, where Israel continues to strike across the country as the IDF targets Hezbollah members who've moved beyond their traditional areas. Hezbollah's deputy leader addressed the nation today, vowing to continue the fighting. Our international editor, Lindsay Hilsum, is in the capital, Beirut. Lindsay.
Matt, the Lebanese Prime Minister Najib Mikati said today that he'd been talking to the Americans and they had assured him that Israel was going to lessen its attacks here in Lebanon. Well, there's no sign of that. There were multiple strikes, particularly in the Bekaa Valley overnight. That's one of Hezbollah's strongholds, and in other places too. More than that, we hear that the Israeli soldiers are beginning to demine the area where Syria, Lebanon and Israel meet. That's to the east. And the suggestion is that they might be considering or preparing to move over the border into Lebanon from the east as well as from the south. So that's of concern too. Hezbollah's deputy leader, there's still no leader to replace the assassinated Nasrallah, said today that their aim was to inflict more pain on Israel and Israelis. There's no sign here in Lebanon that this war is letting up. Last night, Hezbollah were firing rockets into Israel. They know most will be shot down, but every time one gets through, they see it as a victory. At dawn, smoke was rising over the southern Lebanese town of Taibeh, and Israeli troops were raising their flag at Labouneh, a triumphalist gesture to Hezbollah, which today reiterated that they wouldn't stop fighting before a ceasefire in Gaza.
We were asked to stop the war and move more than 10 kilometres away from the border so as not to provoke Israel, but we insisted on a ceasefire in Gaza.
1,000 kilometres to the east, in the holy city of Karbala in Iraq, they held a funeral for General Abbas Nilforoushan, a senior member of Iran's Revolutionary Guard, killed by the Israelis alongside the Hezbollah leader Hassan Nasrallah in Beirut last month. The mourners held flags of Iraqi Shiite militia, proxies for Iran, just like Hezbollah. This is a war that's reverberating across the region.
Our message to the world is that our belief, above all, unites us. We're confronting the Zionist enemy, who is breaching all international norms. We can see how he's killing children and women, from Gaza to Lebanon.
A second funeral for the same man was held in Tehran, attended by Ismail Khani, head of the Revolutionary Guard Expeditionary Arm, who had himself at one point also been thought dead. These massive gatherings are designed to show Israel and the US that the Islamic Republic and its proxies remain unbowed, despite Hezbollah's losses and Israel's threats to attack Iran again in the coming days. Such defiance may be less welcome in the largely Christian village of Aitu in northern Lebanon. This morning, rescue workers were still digging out bodies after it was hit by an Israeli strike yesterday. Families had fled here from southern Lebanon seeking safety. We've lost everything, he says. Our clothes, our savings, our personal belongings, nothing is left. Across Lebanon and the region, people who have nothing to do with these battles are caught between forces they can't control, watching all they have built over a lifetime destroyed in a moment, fearing how much worse it might get.